Do we, in a sense, live in different realities? I have interviewed some channelers who say that my reality is my only reality, your reality is your only reality, and that other people are players in that reality. And so I'm curious about that and whether we are actually experiencing different realities, which means that if I was standing next to a person, we could have different realities and we could see different things. Like I could point to something and that person would not necessarily see it because that is not in his reality.
That's very accurate. So, the way that we would begin to answer that question is to understand that there is only one being here, right? There is one consciousness, one source energy that is incarnating and emanating through many different forms. Each form you could say or describe as a holographic expression of the one source. But for each and every incarnation, the purpose of that incarnation is to offer a unique, one of a kind perspective. And so that's how we will bring it back to what you were saying in terms of experiencing an individual reality, because that would be another way of saying it. So you are experiencing this individual perspective, this individual reality that is 100% unique, just like a snowflake. And that experience and that reality gets fed back to source as a means of energy and information being fed back to source that allows for a greater understanding and a greater expansion of who and what source is and its understanding of itself. So you could say that every being is in its own unique reality. And depending on where they are at in terms of their level of consciousness, it is very true that two beings could be standing next to each other, having a very different experience, sensing completely different things, one being able to sense something that the other cannot, simply because they're not on the same vibrational page, and so they are not perceiving the same vibrational information. We could describe it as if you were to put two radios next to each other, right, but each being tuned to a different station, they are receiving and experiencing a very different broadcast, even though they are technically right next to each other. You could say it appears that they are in the same reality, but they are not really, because they are experiencing and they are perceiving two very different things.
Now, I don't know if this is aligned with you to speak about, but a few years ago, maybe 15 years ago, we spoke a lot about abduction programs, and that frightened me a bit, I remember. And we don't speak so much about it anymore.
Mhm.
I'm curious about the ETs that are that have not good intentions, whether there was such abduction programs going on, that people were abducted and done research on, and we're taking on ships, and whether that is over now, and sort of whether we can trust that those who are coming from outer space and are here have good intentions.
So, first of all, let's speak to the fact that although we would identify as a sort of cosmic consciousness or a collective of star beings, we'd first like to say that we are not the ones having those interactions with humans at this time. And we couldn't possibly, because again, we are non physical, so we wouldn't be able to have those types of physical interactions. However, there are beings that are having physical interactions, beings that are of a different dimension, of a different density, of a different level of consciousness. We would say that keep in mind that, again, this is a perfect follow up to our last question, because we were just speaking a moment ago about perception and how every being is holding a different perception. A being's perception is very much colored or influenced or filtered by where they are in terms of their level of consciousness and their mental construct. So we say that to begin, because we wish for you to understand that if a being has a mental construct or a perception that it is somehow a victim, and we don't necessarily mean just a victim of an abduction, but a victim in general, meaning they feel that life is happening to them, that they have nothing to do with it. They don't see that correlation between themselves as a vibrational being and what they are experiencing in life. So if they hold that mental construct that who they are as a victim, then when they have an interaction with what you would call an ET, they will experience that interaction through that lens of victim, even though that's not necessarily what's happening, if you understand. We would say that the beings that are interacting physically with your planet at this time, from our perspective, they are not here to cause any harm. We would say they are not ill-intentioned. We would say that the beings that are interacting physically are here to help and to assist, and in certain cases to prevent certain catastrophes from happening. And in order to do that, they are having these physical interactions with humans. But we're sure that you can understand that if you were to talk to, let's say, 10 different individuals that perceive that they've had these interactions with ETs, that some of them would perceive that they were the victim of that circumstance, and some of them would perceive that the interaction was quite positive and even awakening and even uplifting. And so it is not so much that there are beings here with ill intent. It is that because of the way that your minds are wired, that some of you perceive these interactions as negative when that's not actually what's happening. And so we would say to keep that in mind. And not just in relation to quote unquote abduction, but we would say just keep that in mind across the board, because the more that you can take a standpoint in terms of not being a victim of your life, but being a creator being, in terms of you're a vibrational being and you are creating and attracting these circumstances, events, and relationships in your life, the more you can take responsibility for that, then the more that you will understand that all the experiences that you have are serving you in some capacity.
Is our manifestation powers getting stronger, or are they getting stronger in relation to how we raise our frequency? I've heard that lower vibrational emotions are not being manifested so fast because it is a lower vibration that is, so it's going slower. And in the higher realms, beings manifest much quicker because of the high vibration. So it's sort of a twofold question that since everything is speeding up, are we manifesting faster as well? Or does it have to, is it in relation to that we raise our frequency and thus we manifest more powerfully?
Yes, so understand first, let's just again start the answer to that question with a bit of a foundation. And so what we teach in terms of manifestation is that anytime you're seeking to manifest, there are two ways in which you can go about it. Number one, you can manifest from the mental construct or the ego consciousness. You can manifest from that place. But number two, you could also manifest or create circumstances, create your life with this with the assistance of your soul, or from your soul, we should say. So there are these two very different ways of manifesting. So let us just describe that a bit and it will answer this question. When you manifest from the ego or the mental construct, it is often because there are some energies or something going on within your energetic emotional body that you are seeking to escape from. So we use the example, if you have the belief active that you're not good enough, and then you have the emotional charge associated with that belief active in your construct, which would be shame, that shame energy is present. Then if you are seeking to manifest from that place, usually what beings do is they're seeking to manifest some sort of an achievement or an accomplishment to prove that they are good enough. That's what we mean by manifesting from the mind, the mental construct, or the egoic consciousness. And then, of course, there's the soul consciousness. Now, when the soul is seeking to manifest, it is seeking to do so with an energy of curiosity, an energy of joy, an energy of exploration. And so it is very different because it's not tied up with self-worth at all. It's more an energy of amusement and curiosity and joy and fun and play. So we would say, notice first of all that when you are faced with these choices of manifestation, that you can come at it from the mind or you can come at it from the soul. And so those are two different vibrational frequencies that are very different. So when you ask in terms of manifesting from this higher vibrational place, we would describe that as manifesting from the soul consciousness, where you have done an amount of inner work, the inner work that involves exploring your mind and mental construct and releasing the beliefs and the accompanying emotions that are tied in with those beliefs that are not in alignment with source energy, not in alignment with your soul. So you have no need to manifest those sort of circumstances anymore that have to do with proving yourself. So then you begin to align with a higher frequency, which is the soul, which is, what is the soul's intention? What does the soul wish to create? What does the soul wish to experience and express through this human construct? It's a very different vibration. It's a very different level of consciousness. So we would describe that is what you are reaching for when you are describing manifestation from a higher perspective, if that makes sense.
To watch the full video, click the link below, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel.